Hello everyone, welcome to GoTarryn TV. I'm Tarryn the Traveling Trainer from GoTarryn Personal Training here in the Atlanta, Georgia area and via Playa del Carmen, Mexico, via Skype. We're going to be having Mr. Jerry Sever, the host, founder and voice of the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show right here on GoTarryn TV for the very first time. Before we get to Jerry, though, I'd like to ask everyone out there and invite you to please make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And after listening to today's interview, would you go ahead and leave us a comment, and share our video on your social media. We greatly appreciate that. Now let's talk about the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show. That's right, folks. We're going to learn about Jerry Sever, where he grew up, a little bit about him, how he met a previous guest of ours, Maya Novak, how they got together, and a lot of other fun stuff that I'm going to ask him. And we're going to dive into what the world of vegan is and what they're doing with the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show. I'm excited. We're going to be having him on here momentarily when we come back. And in the meantime, remember, with GoTarryn Personal Training, it's your time, it's your investment, it's your life. Stay tuned, everybody. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Tarryn the Traveling Trainer here with GoTarryn TV, and very fortunate to be joined by a new guest all the way from Playa del Carmen. He is the founder, voice, and host of the Plant-Based Entrepreneurship Show. He is Mr. Jerry Sever. Jerry, how are you doing today?
Hey, Tarryn. I'm doing good. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. Well, it's so great to have you on. Jerry, you know, for the folks who are GoTarryn TV subscribers and video viewers, they've seen that we've interviewed your wife, Maya Novak, previously last year, so we want to say hi to her. And when we interviewed her, y'all were all the way out in New Zealand on the other side of the world. Now you guys are a little closer down in Mexico, and so now I guess you're a little bit south rather than being on the opposite end. But I wanted to bring you on today because, again, you know, you're doing a great thing with the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show. I want to talk to you about that. And before we jump into that, let me please ask you a little bit about yourself, please, to introduce kind of like an informal introduction, you know, where you're from. I know that originally from Slovenia. We'll talk about that. But tell the folks out there a little bit about your upbringing and a little about, you know, walk us through a journey of growing up and how you got to this point, please.
Yeah, so like you said, I'm originally from Slovenia, although I haven't lived there more than 3 years in the past decade.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I started traveling when I was about 23, 24, first around Europe, and then I got stuck in South America for a couple years. Then in the 3 years that I did spend back in my country, that's when I met my wife, and we got together, and shortly after that I got a job offer in New Zealand, and we moved there.
Wow, that's awesome.
We spent nearly 5 years living in New Zealand, and just late last year we decided to move to Mexico and basically live where it's a bit warmer. For a while.
Yeah, I mean, you guys literally have been all over the world. I'm so impressed. You know, I know that your upbringing, you've got a thorough lot of education with both including Faculty of Mechanical Engineering degree as well as Faculty of Social Services. So where did you go to school, please, and tell us about how that experience was with those degrees.
Right. Well, you sure did your homework. I did, yeah. I first studied marketing communications at social studies in Ljubljana, that's in Slovenia.
Yes.
And then I lived in South America for about 4 years, working as a skydiving instructor, which has nothing to do at all with marketing. And after that, I actually returned home because I got hurt base jumping and I had to recover. And I decided I would spend the time studying again, so I did another degree in mechanical engineering, and then I got another job offer again as a skydiving instructor in New Zealand. So again, nothing to do with mechanical engineering, but yeah, that's kind of my academic background, and I think I'm only now bringing all of that together in the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show, at least the marketing background that I have.
That's excellent. Well, you're a very well-rounded, well-educated young man, and I'm just truly impressed. And let's talk about, that was my next question about the skydiving, because that's something that, if anybody knows me, you'll never find me going up there and doing that. I told Maya that when she and I spoke. So how in the world did you get into skydiving? And I believe also photography instructing on skydiving as well, correct?
Well, it wasn't so much photography instructing as
Uh-huh.
taking pictures of people skydiving,
Oh, I
but
see. Okay.
the way I got into it was you've probably seen Point Break, the original, not the remake.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely,
Yeah, the
absolutely.
one with Patrick Swayze and
Great
Keanu
movie.
Reeves.
Yes,
Yeah,
certainly,
yeah. I
absolutely.
saw that when I was probably 8 or 9 years old, something like that. And I knew immediately that I had to try surfing and try jumping out of a plane at some point.
Wow. Oh,
Yeah, I was always in love with flying, so if it hadn't been for skydiving, I would have probably ended up flying planes or something similar. But
gotcha.
yeah, later on when I was 20, I actually had a car crash that wasn't so bad, but it left me with a lot of insurance money.
Oh,
And
wow.
that same summer, I spent it all on my first 100 jumps, and after that, I was just hooked.
Oh my God. So your first 100 jumps, how many times have you jumped about roughly out of
Roughly 7,500.
Oh, wow. That's
Yeah.
incredible. I can't believe that. That's insane. So I'm assuming your jumps then are on YouTube or on video. We could see them.
Um, most of the stuff that you'll find on YouTube are my work jumps. If
Man.
someone who jumped with me uploaded the video that they got, and I'll appear there because yeah, for the last well nearly 8 9 years, I was mostly just working in skydiving. I wasn't jumping for fun as much as I used to.
Wow.
So all of the fun stuff that I used to do is mostly just saved on my computer. And what appears online would just be me and my professional function as an instructor.
That's amazing. I would be curious to see some of that. And how about, can you tell us about the photography that you mentioned with taking pictures with the skydiving?
Yeah, that basically just entails strapping a camera to your helmet
Okay.
and jumping alongside another person who's skydiving, or most usually it's someone who's doing a tandem skydive, and you're jumping out with them, and you're basically matching speed, matching fall rate with them, and flying around and making sure you capture some of the scenery and making sure you capture their facial expressions, and then opening the parachute and flying down and landing before them so you can film them as they're coming into land.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's amazing. That's got to
that,
be an
that was the second part of my job.
Oh gosh, that's an adrenaline rush there, Jerry. And also, another fun fact about you from researching yourself: you're a major self-acclaimed sci-fi geek. Is that correct?
I am, yes, yes, I am.
Can you tell us about that? Any favorite sci-fi shows or channels or movies at all growing up?
I pretty much devoured everything by Arthur Clarke when I was younger.
Huh?
I'm a pretty big Star Wars geek.
Okay.
I actually got Maya into that a little bit,
Good.
but just if I can share this, she still teases me whenever I mention Star Wars. She says, "So, is that the one with the monkey?"
Oh God, the
And
monkey.
I mean, it's not a monkey, it's a Wookiee. Oh, yes, that's that. And
That's
just
great.
recently, I found I can mention this one because I think people would find it interesting. Is I found this trilogy by a Chinese author called the Three Body Problem.
Huh? I haven't heard of that.
I think that he actually got the Hugo Award for that one.
Oh, cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Huh, I'll have to look that up. Sounds interesting.
Yeah,
Wow.
that's let me just check. I have it right here. I'll tell you what his name is because
Sure.
it's a really reminds me a bit of Arthur C. Clarke.
Okay.
The way yeah, his name is Cixin Liu. That's Cixinliu.
Okay. I'll have to look that up then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really enjoying that one right now.
Very good. Excellent. One of my favorite TV shows growing up, because we're about the same age. Do you remember Sliders? Did you ever watch that show? Does that sound familiar, Jerry?
I did not. I don't think we had access to the same TV shows in Slovenia growing up as you
Oh.
might have. Yeah.
Yeah, well, if you ever get a chance, I think it's on Netflix and maybe Hulu. Go and watch Sliders. Watch the pilot, the first episode. You'll be
All
hooked.
right.
I recommend
Yeah.
that strongly.
Oh man, yeah, it's just what I need, another show to.
You could blame it on me. Tell Maya it's my fault. Well, also, Jerry, speaking of Maya, and let's jump back. You had mentioned you'd met her. That's a cute, fun story. And for the folks who haven't, seen you or listened to Maya's interview yet, can you tell us how you and Maya met for the first time, please?
Right, we met through skydiving. I
Yes.
mean, when I was home, those 3 years that I mentioned, so the first year I wasn't jumping because I was recovering from a back injury, like I said. But after that, I got into it again, and I was mostly working weekends as an instructor. And Maya decided to do a skydive in 2010, and she happened to jump with me, and I was very unprofessional because it was a personal rule of mine not to date clients because, some guys, they just take that as a hunting license, basically, to be blunt. And I didn't want to be one of those guys, but I just made this one exception, and kind of worked out okay for me, I have to say.
Absolutely, yes. And now you're one of them. That's great. That's so cute. That's excellent. You guys hit it off, and that's amazing that you both have so many good interests as well. And I know that she's helped you with her health coaching and also the vegan side of it as well too. Can you talk to us a little bit about that
Yeah,
as well?
I probably wouldn't be vegan if it weren't for my wife. I mean,
Right.
I could have possibly drifted into vegetarianism
Uh-huh.
because my mom had been vegetarian for nearly 20 years when me and Maya met. So
Okay.
for me, it was actually quite normal for a woman not to eat meat.
Okay. Hmm.
And Maya was vegetarian when we met, but about after a year after we got together, she decided to go vegan. And at that point, we were living together. There was no meat in our fridge or anything like that, and it was just okay. So if you're vegan, I'm going to be preparing vegan food when we're at home, and when I eat out, I'll just eat what I always ate. But then, because I was eating mostly vegan, I was noticing that this actually feels pretty good. It was the first time in my life that I wasn't getting chronic colds in the wintertime.
Hmm.
And then a couple months later, I think she started in September, and then December, I was just, you know what, I'm going to try not eating meat for a while to see how that feels. Like, just cut it out completely. And about 6 months after that, I decided to cut out dairy as well, and I never looked back because it felt so good.
That's incredible. And I know that also. Fun fact: was it 5 some years ago that you ate your last bite of cheese? Is that right?
Oh yeah, the cheese story. I've shared that one a couple times, but yeah, that was when we were already in New Zealand, and we
Okay.
went out for some pizza, and Maya had hers with just vegetables, and I had mine with vegetables and cheese. And it was good. And then we came home and we just lied down for a bit. And after a while, my wife is lying next to me and she goes, honey, would you mind turning the other way because you absolutely stink of cheese? I know that's the last thing you want your loved one to say to you when you're lying close. And I was like, okay, you know what? If I stink of cheese, I'm not eating cheese anymore.
Wow, that left
And
quite an impression, didn't it?
yep, it
Man.
did. But I stopped eating cheese because of it, and it's working out fine for me too. So
How
no
cool.
regrets there.
Wow, Jerry, that's amazing. And also around that time, didn't you write or co-author a vegan book as well, Jerry?
Oh, we did, yeah. That was the vegan cookbook, the
Yes,
88
cookbook,
Kitchen
that's right.
Tales.
Mm-hmm.
That was actually the first year of our journey into veganism.
Okay.
We were just collecting all the recipes, all the stuff that we were creating in our kitchen,
Mm-hmm.
because we wanted to know what worked, and because if we prepared something good, we wanted to do it again. So we were just collecting those recipes, writing them down, and after we had enough of them, we collected them into this little photo book. We took some pictures and we gave that to was actually a gift to my mom for her birthday.
That's so
And then
cool.
that book started making the rounds, and everyone loved it. And after about a month, my sister, who's a graphic designer, said, "You know what, guys, we should just do an actual book based on this." And
Yeah.
that's how we got into that.
That is excellent. It's amazing. You guys have been just keeping busy. And speaking of being busy, now I want to just transition here and kind of talk about what you're doing, your main job as being, like I said, the voice of the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show. And, at the end, we're going to definitely get all the ways that people could listen to that. Tell us, please, Jerry, how did you come about and found that name? What provided you the influence and inspiration to come up with this?
The Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show, yeah. So after the cookbook, we actually published two in Slovenian,
Yeah.
and the first one is available in English too. But after we
Good.
published those books, we got quite a bit of following back in our home country.
Okay.
So we actually launched a couple of online programs for people who were getting into veganism.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that for me was, out of all the factors that influence people or influence the society or the world to transition to a more plant-based lifestyle, I saw that business was the one that probably had the most potential to bring about the biggest change.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the amount of money that's being invested into plant-based ventures,
Yeah.
and if you look at some of the names behind it, I mean, you've got Bill Gates and you've got Li Ka-shing, which is, I think, one of the richest people in Asia or the world as well.
Wow.
They are investing into plant-based startups. So those are people with a very keen business sense, and they can see where the future trends are headed.
Mm-hmm.
So
good point.
yeah. And it kind of became apparent to me that, while activism may work to bring some people in and build a strong emotional base,
Mm-hmm.
it was business that would bring plant-based products closer to regular people who might not even consider going completely vegan.
Mm-hmm.
But they are very open to being maybe 80 or 90% plant-based, and even that can be a huge win if you look in terms of diminishing our dependence on animal-based products. So I thought, okay, how can I do my part in that?
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't have enough business connections or a background that would allow me to just start something.
Yeah, right.
I thought, okay, why not help educate people on that? And because I do love podcasts, I mean, I was listening to podcasts all the 5 years in New Zealand, going back and forth to work.
Mm-hmm.
And because one of the areas of podcasting that I do enjoy is entrepreneurship, I'm thinking, okay, how about something based around vegan businesses or plant-based businesses?
Uh-huh.
And then one day, as I was flying above Wanaka in New Zealand in the plane, waiting to jump out, it just struck me, okay, the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show.
Very good.
Sounds pretty good. Yeah.
It's very catchy. Yes, that's excellent. And I like the shows too, the format, Jerry. When people listen, can you tell us about some of the guests that you've had on the show as well and what you've talked about?
Yeah, so my guests, they pretty much range all across the plant-based sectors. So I'm talking to business owners, I'm talking to startup founders, people who are launching plant-based companies, people who've been running plant-based companies for years,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm also talking to people who are investing into plant-based companies. And from what I see from my statistics, those episodes actually tend to be the most popular ones.
I see. Okay.
So yeah, people with investment experience, people who really understand how startups work, what they need, and why they are putting money into these businesses. Yeah.
That's excellent. Very, very good, Jerry. And what do you find the most fun and rewarding part of being the host for the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show?
Well, one of the most rewarding parts is definitely being able to connect with all these people
Right.
and to learn from them.
Mm-hmm.
Because the one of the main reasons that I'm doing this in the format that I'm using and that I'm doing this podcast is because I'm curious about what they're doing. I'm curious how they got into it. I'm curious what they can teach me, basically.
Uh-huh.
So what I'm doing is I'm sitting down for 1 hour at a time with each person, and I just get to ask them whatever I'd like to know about their business background and the lessons that they've learned, and then I get to share that. So that's probably the most rewarding part of the whole thing. Yeah.
That's excellent, Jerry. And if I was to ask you, what do some of the current 2017, this year, short-term, 6-month goals include for the show going on right now into this calendar year?
Well, I have quite a few nice guests lined up.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lady who's been doing plant-based cheese for probably longer than anyone else coming up next month.
Good.
I'm talking to the director of the Plant-Based Foods Association next week, which is the first group that's promoting the interest of the entire plant-based food sector in terms of lobbying. So they're going up against all the meat lobbies and dairy lobbies that they're trying to influence
Right.
government decisions.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I expect that talk to be pretty interesting too. Just launching our first plant-based entrepreneur insider report next week.
Very good.
It's going to be on the 7 of the best plant-based business opportunities this year.
Excellent.
And beyond that, the plan is to grow the show or the website into a place where people can actually connect and come for business advice, not just from the podcast, but from the people that we'll be working with.
Terrific. Yeah, I think you're on the right path. I mean, everything you're doing is just excellent, and I think it really is growing, and you're doing a wonderful job nurturing it. And what would your dreams be of the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show from here 5, 10, 15 years, or whenever you're going to retire down the line? What would make you happy with what this show's doing? Where would you see yourself?
What would make me the happiest is if from what I'm doing, if it can help people connect and form new businesses that move the entire plant-based movement further along and accelerate our transition to a more sustainable lifestyle, that is the end goal. And how we bring this about, let's say 1 to 2 years down the road, I envision the Plant-Based Entrepreneur as being a brand that encompasses both online courses for vegan entrepreneurs and live events shaped as sort of, how startup festivals look.
Yeah, right.
Where you can have pitch fests and you can have speed dating advice with investors and advisors, where you can sit down with each person for 10 minutes and just get the answers to your burning questions.
Love it.
Yeah.
Excellent. I love it. That's a great vision. I love that, Jerry. That's terrific. And then a couple of other items I wanted to ask you about, Jerry, because we spoke about this briefly when we spoke with Di on the Direct Talk show. I wanted to ask you about this article that you sent me from the Good Food Institute. For the folks, we'll make sure that we put this link up, but it's the FAIRR, FAIR Initiative, on the report on animal protein. Can you tell us a little bit about that, please?
Oh, yeah. So that was the protein shakeup, right?
Yes.
From the FAIR Initiative that's a part of the Jeremy Collier Foundation.
Okay.
So it's a report that's backed by institutional investors amounting to over $1 trillion.
Oh, wow.
And it's aimed at the largest food businesses in the world. And it is essentially an overview, a report on why our dependence on animal-based protein needs to stop right now, and what are the steps that these companies can take to diminish it, and what's the direction that we should be taking. so we can replace animal protein with plant-based protein in the near future. Now, some of the biggest companies that received this report, they did not reply at all. But others, like, for instance, Tyson, which is the largest global meat producer or meat processing company, they last year, they actually invested, they bought 5% of
Beyond Meat.
Beyond Meat.
That was in the Fortune magazine you speak of, right?
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
excellent.
I sent you that one.
I remember that one. Yeah.
When you have the largest meat processing business in the world investing into plant-based protein, that definitely tells you something about the direction that this whole industry is taking right now.
Worldwide, too.
Yeah, and it's not just Tyson, it's also General Mills, for instance, or PepsiCo. They now have parts, they now have funds that are aimed at supporting not just plant-based businesses, but startups that are doing organic foods or the whole better for you sector.
Yeah.
Yeah. So these huge companies are now investing into startups that are dedicated to those kind of products. So it's good to see that at least some of them have seen the light and are moving in the right direction.
Yeah, this sounds like a goldmine opportunity. It sounds like you just are on the startup end of this, literally. So kudos, my hats go off to you on being on the groundbreaking, ground zero of this. It's perfect. I mean, it's brilliant to be on this wave, and I think you're right. It's gonna, you have enlightened me. I didn't realize such like Bill Gates and others were investing into startup companies that were plant-based. It's very interesting. That's
and the wave analogy is really good because if we take it back, I did manage to learn how to surf along the way too. So what we're seeing now is just the beginning of the swell.
Man, wow.
It's just starting to come in, but it's going to be huge. In the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to be a huge part of the industry.
Well, that's exciting, and I'm excited, for you and taking part and observing, and like you said, I think it's just one person at a time, enlightening them, and if anything, giving them the information that's out there that's really well researched. So, again, keep up the great work, Jerry. And now I'd like to ask you about the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show. How do people find out about the show? How do they listen to it? And how can they download the podcast, please?
Right. So the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show it's a weekly podcast. Comes out pretty much every Wednesday, unless we're moving to Mexico and my computer parts get delayed somewhere and I don't have my equipment.
Right.
But yes, no, it's a weekly podcast. It's available on iTunes if you just look for the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show.
Very good.
It's also online at theplantabasedentrepreneur.com. And the best way to follow us is if you look me up on Instagram. So I'm Jerry Sever. So that's JERRY_SEVER. That's kind of my main social media account for everything related to the show.
Perfect. Excellent. Well, Jerry, this is terrific. I really appreciate this time with you and getting to know more about the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show. You've provided us a lot of great information in such a short amount of time, and I know that you and Maya, again, I know how tough that is, especially, anybody out there can relate. Moving across the world, literally, from one continent to another is just amazing. But if you and Maya, I mentioned this to you, ever decide to come up to southern North America, like around Atlanta, Georgia, where I'm at, I'd love to show you guys around and take you around Atlanta and show you some of the historic landmarks.
We're definitely going to hit you up because now that we're closer to the States, we'll probably be up there a couple times per year, just hitting different conferences and going to events. And yeah, if we're ever in Atlanta, yeah.
Hit me up.
We'll
Yeah.
stop by. Absolutely.
Love to meet you both in person. That'll be wonderful. All right. Well, there you go, folks. Again, I hope you'll take the information down. We're going to fade to black, and we're going to have the Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show. All the information is going to be right up there on the web. And Jerry, again, thank you so much for your time, and have a wonderful rest of your day. And let's definitely have you back on and see how you're doing in another month or so.
I'd love that, Tarryn. And thank you for having me on.
My pleasure. All right, folks, here comes Plant-Based Entrepreneur Show right now. Check it out.